As a department, we're committed to having an active and continually updating our reconciliation action plan. We have a unique opportunity because we employ people around the state. I want the Department of Planning, Transport and Infrastructure to be the model agency in the South Australian Government, positively impacting the lives and well-being of Aboriginal people.
I think DIPT has done exceptionally well. We're not a department that Aboriginal people traditionally gravitate to. Families or welfare or the criminal justice system, they're all areas that we're very familiar with. We've had a long interaction with those agencies. So we're having to create those roles. We're having to create and convince Aboriginal people that, they're good roles to come into.
The Department for Planning, Transport and Infrastructure aims to improve the lifestyles of all South Australians. This includes Aboriginal Australians in rural, remote and urban areas. This is done by effective planning policy, efficient transport and social and economic infrastructure across the state.
Wherever there are Aboriginal employees, then I tend to try to make a connection in that area. One of my other roles is to be part of the department's reconciliation agenda. The committee membership is made up of representatives from all the divisions. They've kind of been the change champions, I suppose. And I think it's been one of the really strong points of the committee is that they have been able to go back and implement change within their own divisions and their own areas. And that was one of the reasons why Rosemary Markotic, our Director of Human Resources, has insisted that members are from a high enough level to be able to influence. They're not all directors who sit on there, but there may be people who will influence others.
To me, reconciliation is about righting some of the wrongs that we've inflicted. It is a way of, over time, dealing with those issues and improving the lives of Aboriginal people in our community. One of the things I've realised in my role as the chair of the Aboriginal Reconciliation Committee is that when we talk about the Aboriginal people, we're not talking about one homogenous culture. There are a number of diverse cultures and languages in the Aboriginal community. And that's something that we need to understand, and a good understanding of that will enable us to promote employment within our organisation.
One of the initiatives that came out of the reconciliation agenda was to develop a tram wrap. Another Aboriginal employee, Paul Herzik, designed the wrap and included 39 different Aboriginal group names. It's called the Kari Munacha. It's the story of the emu. This will be the 4th year. It usually runs for about an 8 to 10 week period. I think the feature of the tram wrap is that it's very visible. The design is undertaken within this department. We're able to attend the launch and it's obvious that the Aboriginal community embrace it. I think there's a level of pride about seeing that tram running through our city streets, which is a feature of the movement and the delivery of public transport down here in Adelaide. And it looks good. We were just blown away with Aboriginal people's response to the tram. It seemed to capture people's imagination.
I think it looks fantastic. It's a really striking symbol. It runs through the middle of Adelaide. I think, we don't have enough cultural symbols here for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And I think it just reminds everybody that we're on Kaurna land and that we need to pay more respect. And it's it just adds so much colour and vibrance to the city. The big dark buildings and this bright tram running through. It looks fantastic.
I was walking down King William Street and I seen this tram go past and I seen Ghana, Nat and Jerry, and Nudgery on it. I thought, wow! It was so good to see that all of those clan groups being displayed on a tram. I never ever thought that would happen because, you know, you've seen it on the plane, you've seen those designs and you think, okay, well, I accept that because, you know, that's for tourists more or less. But for us, to see our own names on a tram is really inspiring for me as a Nudgery woman to see that, because it's about recognising me as a Nudgery woman or a Nudgery woman or man and the different clan groups that we got. So I guess I was so inspired by it, I just stopped in the street and just stood there and looked at this tram as it went past me and went down the road. True.
I think it's important for Australians to not assume that we're all one group of people, that we do come with our own identity of who we are, our own country that we identify with. And I think it's important for our children and our grandchildren to know where their place is in this world. We might live in Adelaide because we have to work and earn a living the same as everybody else, but our spiritual home is where our parents and our grandparents and our old people lived and worked and walked. And it's important for our children and our grandchildren to know where they belong, and that's their country. And so country is critically important to who we are.
You people see the line, they have to be on the other side of the line. Other side, do it.
Aboriginal young people living in rural and remote areas have great difficulty in accessing opportunities that people in the city take for granted. So it's all the more important that agencies go out and take the services to those remote communities. A good example is the Office for Sports and Recreation. Indigenous officers go out and deliver services to the community, in their community, and have made a difference in the lives of young people.
The Spinifex Sports Carnival is just an opportunity for all those remote schools out on the far west, Yalata, Oak Valley, Maralinga, Junjunjara, all those communities to come together and just experience some different sports. So they don't do the same thing every year. This year they went along the lines of athletics, just being the Olympic year, so it was good to see those kids running around and trying those different sports. Many of them getting on the high jump for the first time. There's some kids that have got a long way to grow up yet before they can even get over onto the mat itself. But I've got no doubt that we've got the next Kathy Freeman out there in the communities, and it would be good to see them go on to bigger and better things.
It's just a joy to see the children's faces and their excitement when they're participating. It's a good partnership between the Office for Rec and Sport and the schools. I can see the schools are very appreciative of the input that the Rec and Sports officers have.
We always try and encourage the state sporting bodies to approach us before they visit a remote area. So they might not understand the things that are involved with visiting a community, whether there could have been a death in the community and they don't know the protocols with Indigenous communities. So I'd like to think that our Indigenous sport development officers have that knowledge.
Ready then? Ready, set!
One of our very popular programs is our Walpara ANPA Awards, which is making available 10 laptops per year for Year 10 Aboriginal students. The launch of which we're able to do this year in the presence and with the support of the Governor of South Australia. I was privileged to be able to be a part of the presentations this year. There's a real pride from those who are recipients of awards, a number who've been recipients in previous years coming back and supporting the program, but it's a pretty simple initiative. Provision of a laptop just as a measure of encouraging people to hang in there, and from the presence of the families when we present those awards, just a great deal of pride at the encouragement that's been given.
Janice is chairwoman of the Aboriginal Elders Council of South Australia. And this is her grandson. Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Daryl Collinson.
Daryl works for the South Australian Police. He's won a traineeship this year.
Yep.
And he was a Walper Award winner back in...
I reckon it was 2009, year 10.
Yes, that's
So
right.
yeah,
end
year
of
10. So the end of year 10 at my graduation, when I received it. But everything's going all right now.
Yeah. Did you complete year
Yes,
12?
I finished year 12 last year. Passed everything, so I got my SACE. And then went through TAFE and then found this traineeship. So been doing it ever since February now.
How did you feel when you won an award?
Yeah, I was pretty excited because at home we don't have a computer. So it helped me a lot to do a bit of study and stuff like that. So it helped me a lot. And now it's helping my little brother and sisters to do it as well. So
That's excellent.
yeah.
So it's helping another generation.
Yeah.
That's right.
Nana, what have you got to say about that?
Well, we're rather proud to think that he'd won an award like that, and not that I don't think he really needed it to encourage him, because I think he would have finished anyway. There's not too many Aboriginal children or young ones this age and high school that do complete year 12. And I think even if it's none of your own family members, it's like, well, hey, you're rather proud an Aboriginal person has completed year 12.
Yeah.
2009, I have Daryl Collinson. Daryl's from Ranella. He's now a trainee with the South Australian Police. So congratulations, Daryl.
Walpa Umpra means clever one. It's an Arabana word. It's a fantastic award because it acknowledges our kids. School's a really difficult place to survive. And one of the reasons why we did the award was to reward and recognise our young people and their achievements within that system. I didn't realise how many young people out there, Aboriginal people out there, are such high achievers in our schools. But we also try to recognise those who may not be getting the A's and the B's, but they're doing the very best that they can, because some of them are still having to meet huge family obligations, taking care of elders, taking care of their siblings, and going to school and hanging in there and just doggedly determined to get through to their SACE. So we make sure that we acknowledge some of those young people too. Many of them have chosen to continue in their education. We've had a couple who have then applied and come into our traineeship program. Some of the other challenges that are faced by our Aboriginal young people are some of those that Aboriginal people face irrespective of age. And I think some of that, it's just that as you get older, you get a little bit better at managing and handling them. We still struggle with non-Aboriginal people's perceptions of us. I think people still think if you're a real Aboriginal person, then you must live somewhere in a remote area. So you either look too Aboriginal or you don't look Aboriginal at all, and so then non-Aboriginal people generally then can't work out why you identify as Aboriginal when your skin is white or your features don't look Aboriginal. So people still make the mistake of judging us on our appearance rather than our culture and our value system and the families that we belong to.
He's trying to jump over the scorpions. Too many scorpions.
And so our young people are quite often put into a situation where there's an expectation that they either know every other Aboriginal person or that they know everything about Aboriginal culture. We seem to think that it's okay to expect an Aboriginal young person to be able to deconstruct and articulate their culture. You know, that's a difficult thing for anybody to do. And I think one of the things that helped me was taking Aboriginal studies at university. It raised my awareness and my consciousness around the pieces that were missing in my understanding of why Aboriginal people find themselves in the position that they do. And I was very fortunate that I was brought up on country. I was very fortunate that my mother was not removed. She was raised by her mother. We, at a very young age, went to work with our parents because they were opal miners when I was a child. They also saw that their children had to have some skills in terms of valuing education and our work ethic. So we kind of got exposed to both worlds quite young and for most of our lives. And so it put us in a privileged position. As a child, I never thought about my white skin until I got older and I was able to mix in a world where people didn't know I was Aboriginal. And so I quite often can be invisible. And although most non-Aboriginal people don't want to acknowledge, but there is a colour barrier in this country. And I've seen it waiting at shop counters where fair-skinned people will get served before a dark-skinned Aboriginal person. We should be vigilant and we should challenge those things too when we see that happen. I'm the first Aboriginal person to take up this kind of role. Nobody knew how to identify Aboriginal people. So one of my first jobs coming into the department in 2007 was to identify where Aboriginal people were currently employed. We finally found 19 people who were in the department, some people who were already there 19 years. And people got a bit excited, some who were there but didn't really know how to connect with other Aboriginal people. So one of the really good things, I think, or positive things that my role has been able to do is to bring Aboriginal people together. So we have a network forum once a year. Quite often it's the only time Aboriginal people get an opportunity to really catch up and see each other and talk about those issues or other things that may be affecting or impinging on their work lives, to really come and talk about it in a safe environment. We also provide opportunities at those forums for people to access personal development skills, also find out more information about what's happening in the department. We often get at least an executive director or one of the deputy chief executives to come and talk.
Well, one of the things that we would like to do in the department is improve the lives of Aboriginal people. And one of the ways that we can do that is by providing an opportunity for ongoing employment and training programs such as the Aboriginal Clerical Administration Trainee Program, where we recruited 10 new trainees for this year, are an excellent way to do that. We give young Aboriginal people an opportunity to start employment with us, and subject to them fulfilling the requirements of the trainee program, there are opportunities for them for ongoing employment.
We started with 20 trainees in the very first year. It proved to be too big a group. We lost probably about 70% of those people. In the last 3 years we've cut back to 10, and we've also built in more supports around them. We found that kids coming in had quite high anxiety and depression levels of depression. So we've built around them now a 10-week program that is about work-life balance. It helps them to be able to articulate how they're feeling, but also some strategies around how to manage any anxiety, how to use language appropriately, how to diffuse situations. And we're getting better at doing some of that work as well. We had an 80% retention rate in the last group of trainees. So we can see that we are getting better. We also have an induction for the managers, which is designed to assist them on working well and supporting the trainees. Because trainees are quite time consuming in terms of having to support them and work them and give them tasks that are appropriate to their level. Having said that, many young people are coming already highly skilled as well.
I love it there. My work colleagues, from day one they've been open and let us in and just not holding anything back. They just let us in really quick, first day. It's a big age difference there. Like me and Shikani are the youngest, but we bring a lot of skills to the office because they don't know that much about computers, and they're giving us a lot of opportunities to go out in the gangs and see what they do. We've been out for a few barbecues. We're doing minute taking for their meetings they have out in their bush and getting to know how everything works. It's a lot of fun. I love it.
Well, traineeships are really your entry point into the public sector now if you're not skilled or you don't come with a lot of experience. I try to explain to young people this is about now laying down some foundations for the rest of your career.
As someone who hadn't had a lot of education, like formal experience, like I didn't go to school and stuff, so I think that it was really good to have kind of like a hands-on experience, practical, and I think that also helped me with the educational requirements as well, because you did a Cert 3 and a Cert 2 in government and business, and so that was helpful for me for getting my academic standard up, like reading and writing. It helped me on the path to go to uni. The value of hard work, prioritising what I want, sort of figuring what journey I want to take, I guess. Sometimes that's been a bit harder than others, and I think I'm on the right path now, and I think it was good. I think I learned a lot during my traineeship and my first employment.
We want people to be able to choose a career and make a career within the department. The department has such a variety of career pathways that there's almost everything in this department that suit everybody. You can be an engineer. You can be a journalist, you can be a lawyer, so there's lots of professions.
So we have such a diverse range of employment opportunities, and I think it's just a real shame that we don't have a large number of Aboriginal people involved in our workplace. I'm really surprised with the heritage that Aboriginal people have had, particularly with rail in Australian history, that we don't have more people involved in our workplace doing that sort of work, and I would love to see the opportunities be created so that Aboriginal people feel like they can be part of our public transport system and public transport network. On top of that, we have a diverse range of the community that we serve with our public transport system, so I think a lot of the community would really appreciate seeing more representation in our employees who are Aboriginal people. And I think getting that blend of workforce across all of our division would see a lot of benefits for everybody.
I want to work towards the media industry, so I decided to study, and so I quit my job and took up a cadetship. I think it's really good in providing people who don't have experience in getting hands-on experience in the field they want to work in. And because it directly relates to their studies, I think it's really good to have that opportunity to be able to work, and not just 12 weeks, but 12 weeks every year, and it's really good. I enjoy it.
I'm hoping that eventually our young people will be as confident and competent as any other young person that enters in. Not to say that they aren't now, but that would be recognised, that they'll really will be recognised for the skills that they bring to the workplace rather than their Aboriginality.
Joylene is great. She's a lot of support. I kind of feel like she's my auntie, because she's always there when we need to have a chat, and I can tell her anything about work, and she's like a shoulder for me in the workplace.
I love coming to work, and part of that is about seeing those young people every day and knowing that you can make a difference. And sometimes I can be a bit tough because I want them to realise that they can challenge themselves too, and they can challenge the organisation. Too often we choose to walk away from a situation rather than challenge it and make sure the situation changes for us. And that's tough if you're young, but I keep saying, there's going to be a lot of people around to help you. Ask for help, because there'll always be somebody there who will come and help.
I think there has been huge improvement in the department's attempt to engage Aboriginal people and their communities. We are currently one of the few departments that maintain Aboriginal specific positions to be supporting and leading Aboriginal engagement strategies. It's also very encouraging for us as Aboriginal employees to see more and more recognition and respectful behaviours, ensuring that people join us and are supportive of us in our celebration of who we are and what we stand for. It's something that can influence a better future for all of us.